it's Caitlin. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hello! I'm Caitlin, and I'm currently working on my NaNoWriMo project for 2021. Today is November 8th, it is Monday, and I'm playing a little bit of catch-up. I should have filmed something for November 7th. I didn't. Yesterday was what I like to call a slug day, where I didn't really do anything productive except just rest, let my brain turn off a little bit, and just not stress out too much. And that meant I did do a lot of writing. I don't remember what my word count was, but I will put it here. So yesterday I wrote this much, and that brings my total up to this much. Overall, things are going really, really well. I'm cautiously optimistic. Things just got a little weird today because that's actually why I'm looking a little fancy right now. My fiance and I actually toured a wedding venue, and I think we have a wedding venue, and I think we have a wedding date, and I'm really excited. So that's pretty big. That's been a huge thing. Now that we are done with that for the day, we came back home, and I've got some time to write and film and things. I was like, oh, I got to do a real quick November 7th something video, so that way I can say I did upload a video for every day of Nano, even if it wasn't filmed that day or posted that day. It's fine. I mentioned in my video yesterday that I wanted to talk about how plotting versus pantsing, and where pantsing falls into all of this, and where I fall into these categories, and I figured now's a great time to talk about it. If you ask me at any other time prior to this year if I was a plotter or a pantser, I would say, oh my god, I'm a plotter. Pantsing is not for me. For those of y'all who are like, what do pants have to do with anything? Plotting is when you have an outline and you write your book based on that. Pantsing is when you have an idea and you just see what happens on the page. I have always considered myself to be a plotter. I will go nice and neat, chapter by chapter, outlining everything, all of my arcs, all of my characters, everything is written out. Usually what I've ended up doing is I've written it out in paragraph form, and I've been like, chapter 1, introducing this character, and this is happening to them, and this is the stuff that's happening. It's all, nice and neat and blocked out. And then I've realized that things have changed for me, and I don't know if this is just my writing style changing as I continue to develop as a writer, if it's just the way that my brain chooses to operate now. I'm not entirely sure. The big shift happened with my giant fan fiction project, which is Patron Saint of Lost Causes. I will link it down below if you're interested. Fan fiction's a whole nother thing that I'd love to do a whole series of videos about my thoughts on fan fiction, how it's made me a better writer, how it can be so beneficial as a young writer. I have a lot of thoughts. Also about, that point where it's like, oh, you're, not 14 and you're writing fan fiction. Is that okay? And I've spent the past year working on a over 100,000 word project. It is a boarding school AU for criminal minds, and all the characters are teenagers except for Spencer, who's a baby, but he's like 9. He's 10, but he lies about his age. Anyway, it has been so much fun to write. It's been honestly a joy, even the times where I've been super stressed and the words aren't flowing easily. I've still really enjoyed the world and the characters that I've developed. They're kind of my own little babies at this point. And the hardest thing is balancing 9 main characters. I have 9 main characters, and they all have separate arcs, and the fic is starting with the first week of school. It's going to eventually end with the end of the school year and graduation. And I am pulling off of things referenced from canon. I'm pulling from things that I've wanted to develop myself for these characters, the longer I've written them. And what I ended up doing was I tried to sit down an outline. I tried to sit down and mark out, okay, so this will happen and this will happen. But it was just too much with 9 characters, 9 different character arcs, all the different plot lines that they're all kind of clicking into, how they interact with each other. And then basing off of a school year. So they've got Halloween and homecoming and football games and the school musical, playing off of all of that. What I ended up doing that worked for me the best was I took my 9 main characters and I wrote out their arcs specifically and just a bullet point list. I want this to happen, then this to happen, then this to happen. And I've kind of put them into the school year arcs. For instance, this year writing has been really slow for me. I've kind of mentioned previously why it's taken me, I pointed because I'm gonna put it in a little card. I've talked about why this past year has been so tricky with me for writing and why I've kind of taken a break, so I haven't written a lot. I've been stuck in the same arc for like 6 months. I'm so sorry. My current arc is Family Weekend, so it's all of these kids, families, their parents, grandparents, siblings, a horrible pair of aunts and uncles, coming to visit the kids for Family Weekend. And so I was like, here's what's happening, here's how all my characters are fitting into this, and figure out who I want to focus on and when and what and all that stuff. And I've already marked out my next arc, which is the kids going into the rest of the month of October. Let me also point out I am 100,000 plus words into this fic, and it's only October, so. Anyways, I found that worked the best for me. Rather than having a strict chapter 23, they do this, chapter 24, they do that. It's been a lot more organic and pulling those character bits as I've continued to write and mapping things out as I go and letting shifting developments shift how I end up plotting the next chapter. One of my big problems with writing original works is I am an anxious person, and I overthink and I stress, and I'm trying to make sure everything is as clean cut and perfect as it should be. So when I first sat down to work on this NaNoWriMo fic novel, you know what I mean, I planned on outlining. I planned on marking out chapter by chapter what everything was going to be, what everyone was going to do, and I couldn't get it to click. And I was starting to really get myself worked up. I was like, maybe I shouldn't write this. I should go back to a different project or come up with something new. Maybe I shouldn't be working on this one yet. What I ended up doing is, luckily I don't have 9 main characters for this, so praise baby Jesus. I ended up marking it out the way that I did Patron Saint. And I have a category for my 2 main characters, who are Mackie and Adelaide, and kind of wrote out their arcs. And then my supporting characters, who are Ivy, Dalton, and Larkin, and I wrote out their arcs. And then I wrote out the arc that I want for that big, all-encompassing plot that they're all kind of clicking into. And I've been, I guess, plantsing. I don't think I could ever be a pantser. Like, I don't think I could ever sit down fully with just like a half percolated idea and go, time to write. I had to go into this with at least some semblance of step 1, step 2, step 3, but it's more like step 1, step 5, step 6.5, step 22. So I have these benchmarks that I'm working towards. I'm working through to the next beat that I know for sure I want to do. And so far, it's surprisingly working. The big thing that I discovered is, especially with Nano, when my whole thought is get the words on the page, get a fast draft completed, worry about revisions later. I hate chapters 1 and 3. So with my 2 main characters, I have Mackie, who is a new student attending the school, and I have Adelaide, and she's been at the school since 6th grade. She's been there for quite a while. So they have very different approaches to how they're starting their school years. And they're eventually going to become friends, but right now it's just kind of like, yeah, we're in our separate spheres, and we have our own separate issues, and we haven't connected yet. And I love Mackie's chapters. His chapters are going really smoothly so far, and I'm really enjoying them. And Adelaide's, I've written chapters 1 and 3 with her point of view, and I've gone, okay, let me write down all the notes of all the things I want to change. Chapter 3, I'm going to start over completely from scratch. Just write a whole brand new chapter. So at the moment, all I've done is I've written notes to myself. And what I do is I make that note in the document as I'm writing. Like, I don't even switch out to a new document. I maintain my stream of consciousness, and I just put it in bold, and I say, note, change this, or make sure you add this into another chapter. And what I'm going to do is eventually go back to all those notes, put them into the same document, organize them, and so when I do revisions, I can already see what I want to change in each chapter and what I need to emphasize and all that good stuff. So plantsing is what's turning out to work for me, and I feel a lot calmer with it, where I have a general guideline and then I'm just filling it in, and I have the room to tweak things. I don't feel like I am hampered by a rigid, oh, I must do this, because if I pull this Jenga block out, the whole tower will collapse. I don't feel as boxed in, and I think that may be something that's hampered my writing in the past when it comes to my original stories, because everything else I've done in a very specific outline, and then I got to a certain point and I went, oh, well, I'm lost. You know, something like, you know, disliking chapters 1 and 3 could have potentially derailed me if I had outlined this story completely from the get-go. But with plantsing, I have the flexibility. I can change things moving forward. I can write notes to change things, you know, as I go back and revise. And I'm overall really happy, and I never thought I would say that. I never thought I'd be anything but a type A plotter, but here I am, plantsing and having a great time. That is going to be it for today's video, or rather November 7th video. I'm actually gonna go do some writing now for November 8th, get myself caught up on both my writing and my videos all at the same time. But thank you so much for watching. I'm really glad you're here. Please stick around, please like and subscribe if you had a good time and if you wanna see where my writing is going. I will come up with a much cooler sign off later at some point, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.